Everyone who had once topped their province in the national aptitude exam knew the same secret. When a student was fast-tracked into university before the exam even happened, the system never showed their real score. It just showed a 0. That was the rule, and it was the reason my whole life turned into a circus on the day the results came out. My childhood friend Sophia Reed found out I had scored 0, and for one glorious second she looked genuinely happy for me. Then she turned around, marched straight to her father, the director of the city admissions office, and quietly had my score transferred to Marcus Dane, the school bully she'd been swooning over for months. The two of them waved his shiny new acceptance letter from Aldenbridge University in my face like a trophy and started planning a citywide live-streamed celebration banquet. I nearly burst out laughing on the spot. Because here's the thing, I really did score 0. I'd already been accepted into Aldenbridge 6 months earlier, before I ever sat the exam, after winning gold at the National Computing Olympiad. So whoever's score Sophia's father had actually stolen, it certainly wasn't mine. Somewhere out there, some poor stranger was about to discover his perfect score had vanished into thin air. Chapter 1. It was June the 23rd, 2 in the afternoon, and the city's exam results had just gone live. My phone lit up with a flood of voice messages from Sophia. "Ethan, are your scores up yet? How much did you get?" Her voice was syrup-sweet, the kind that could melt bone, but even through the screen I could hear the smugness dripping off every word. I leaned back in my gaming chair, took a long pull of ice-cold soda, and tapped out a lazy reply. "Haven't checked. Probably a 0. I wasn't being modest. Half a year earlier I'd already been guaranteed a place in Aldenbridge's Vanguard program, the university's elite computer science track, after taking gold at the National Computing Olympiad. On exam day itself, I'd been lying under the air conditioner grinding through a role-playing game, without the faintest idea which direction the exam hall doors even opened. If that didn't deserve a 0, nothing did. There was silence on the other end for a full 3 minutes. Then Sophia sent back a 60-second voice note, and the joy she was trying so hard to bury was leaking out of every syllable. "Oh, Ethan, don't be too upset. Even good students mess up sometimes. If you really end up with nowhere to go, I could ask my dad to find you a spot at a community college." I rolled my eyes, flipped the phone face down on the desk, and went back to my code. The sheer volume of nonsense that woman could produce was staggering. 2 days later I was heading downstairs with a popsicle in my mouth to take out the trash when I ran straight into Sophia, arm in arm with a guy in a glossy black suit, his hair slicked down with enough product to catch the sun. He was holding a fat red envelope stamped with gold lettering. It was Marcus Dane, our school's resident troublemaker, a fixture at the bottom of every class ranking, famous for, accidentally, kicking basketballs at girls during gym. His eyes landed on the trash bag in my hand and lit up with delight. Well, well. Our resident genius, reduced to hauling garbage. Getting a head start on your future career. Sophia giggled behind her hand, practically melting into his arm. "Marcus, don't tease him. Ethan already feels bad enough about his 0. I set the bag down and raised an eyebrow. "Did you two need something?" Marcus waved the red envelope. Embossed across the front in gold foil were the words Aldenbridge University. "No big deal," he said, chin tilted so high his nose practically pointed at the ceiling. "Just picked up my acceptance letter today. Thought I'd swing by and share the good news. You used to call me an uneducated loser. Who's the real trash now?" I stared at the envelope. Aldenbridge. This kid had spent 3 straight years turning in blank exam papers, and somehow he'd gotten into Aldenbridge. "No way," I said. "There's absolutely no way." Sophia's expression soured instantly. She stepped in front of him like a shield. "Ethan, what is that supposed to mean? Just because you scored 0 doesn't mean you get to be bitter about other people's success. Marcus scored 749 points. He's the top science student in the entire province." "How much?" I asked, digging at my ear, wondering if I'd misheard. Chapter 2. 749. Sophia's shriek startled a flock of sparrows out of the trees. 1 point off a perfect score. Do you have any idea how hard he worked for this? He studied until 3 in the morning, every single night. He earned this. I studied Marcus's face. The dark circles under his eyes screamed late-night gaming, not late-night studying, while my mind raced through the pieces. Sophia's father, Adrian Reed, ran the city's admissions office. I had casually joked that I'd probably scored 0, and Sophia had run straight to tell him. Right after that, a boy who'd never written more than his own name on an exam suddenly turned in a near-perfect score and a university acceptance letter. A ridiculous theory started forming in my head. Adrian must have used his access to swap 2 scores, assuming my joke meant I'd actually earned the 749. He'd have stolen someone else's real score and dumped it onto Marcus, then buried that unlucky stranger under my 0. I swallowed a laugh and looked at the two of them, feeling the corners of my mouth twitch. I hadn't even taken the exam. So whoever's score they'd actually stolen, it wasn't mine, and that meant somewhere out there, a very real genius was about to open his results and find nothing but a 0. Jealous much? Marcus smirked at my silence, mistaking it for devastation, and clapped a hand on my shoulder. Tell you what, since we go way back, I'll let you work my graduation banquet. You can carry plates at the door. I'll even pay you for it. I wanted to laugh and throw a punch in equal measure. I bit down hard on my back teeth and kept my face carefully miserable. Is that so? I said, voice flat with fake defeat. Congratulations, then. A flicker of satisfaction crossed Sophia's eyes at my crushed expression. She looped her arm through Marcus's and turned to go. Come on, Marcus. Don't waste time on him. My dad's already at the restaurant sorting out the banquet menu. The moment they rounded the corner, I lost it completely. I dropped down next to the trash cans and howled with laughter, pounding my thigh. 749 points. Studying until 3 every night. It was the funniest thing I'd heard all year. Once I'd recovered, I sprinted upstairs, fired up my computer, routed through an anonymized connection, and got to work. If Director Reed could reach into the exam system and alter scores, then as an incoming computer science student who'd just won a national gold medal, I could certainly take a look myself. 3 minutes later I was inside the provincial exam database. I typed my own name into the search bar. 2 records came up. The first, Ethan Cole, no exam ID, no score. That was me. The second, Ethan Cole, a different one, exam ID 202608, language 150, math 150, science 300, English 149, total score 749. I opened the second file. My eyes went wide. Registered address, Meridian City. Then the family background section loaded, and a few names made the hair on my neck stand up. Grandfather, Walter Vance, retired regional military commander. Father, Casey Vance, deputy minister at a central government ministry. Mother, Jennifer Cross, chairwoman of the Cross Consortium. Chapter 3. I sucked in a breath so sharp it hurt. My hand jerked and nearly sent the mouse flying off the desk. Of all the scores in the country, Director Reed had managed to steal one from the heir to a fortune. This other Ethan Cole shared my exact name and was clearly the kind of person who could fail every exam of his life and still inherit an empire. Judging by that score, he wasn't just rich, he was a genuine prodigy, and thanks to Adrian Reed, his 749 had been surgically transplanted onto Marcus's blank paper, while the real prodigy was about to log in and find a flashing 0 staring back at him. I could already picture it, some short-tempered heir somewhere kicking his monitor across the room. This was insane. Absolutely insane. I rubbed my hands together, grinning. If Sophia and Marcus wanted to put on a show, I'd give them the performance of a lifetime. The higher you climb on someone else's back, the harder you fall. I called Ryan Holt, our class president. Hey, did you hear Marcus scored 749? Yeah, I'm pretty upset about it myself. My grades have always been solid, there's no way I scored a 0. Something shady is going on here. I laid it on thick, and within half a day the story had spread through every group chat in our year, the genius who'd flunked out, accusing the school bully of cheating. That evening Sophia posted an announcement, tagging the entire class. This Sunday at noon, the Grand Laurel Hotel would host Marcus's celebration banquet, with local media invited to interview the province's top science student. Everyone was welcome to come see for themselves what real talent looked like, if they still refused to accept reality. I read the challenge, tapped out a single word, and hit send. Okay. Chapter 4. By noon on Sunday, luxury cars lined the entrance to the Grand Laurel Hotel. A banner more than 10 meters long hung over the doors, congratulating Marcus on his provincial top score and his acceptance into Aldenbridge. A red carpet ran between rows of flower stands, and reporters from several outlets crowded the entrance with cameras ready. Marcus stood at the door in a custom-tailored suit, hair slicked back, wearing an expression that split evenly between mockery, arrogance, and careless superiority. Adrian Reed stood beside him, chest puffed out, glowing as he fielded questions. I always knew Marcus was destined for something great, Adrian told a reporter proudly. The moment I met him, I could tell. His score is a credit to the wisdom of our education office. I wandered over in beach shorts and flip-flops and stopped at the gift table. Sophia spotted me and wrinkled her nose. You actually came. Did you at least bring a gift? The minimum here is 500. I pulled 2 crumpled bills from my pocket and dropped them on the table. Gift money. Her face went white, then green. They were ceremonial paper offerings, the kind burned at funerals, printed with a smiling deity and a face value of 50 million each. Ethan, are you trying to get yourself killed? She shot up, snatched the bills, and looked ready to hurl them at my face. Whoa, no need to get so worked up, I said loudly enough for the reporters nearby to hear. I had those blessed at a temple specifically so Marcus ascends quickly once he gets to Aldenbridge. Cameras swung toward us instantly. Marcus hurried over and pulled Sophia back with theatrical calm. Easy, Sophia. Ethan scored a 0, he's had a bit of a breakdown. As successful people, we should show some patience for the less fortunate. Then he turned to the cameras, straightened his tie, and smiled. To everyone watching, this is an old classmate of mine. His grades weren't great, but I always tried to encourage him. Everything I've achieved, I owe to my own hard work, and to Director Reed's guidance, of course. I bit back a laugh and raised my voice. Since you work so hard, top scorer, tell everyone your secret. How does someone study 25 hours a day? Marcus froze, clearly not processing that a day only has 24 hours in it. He recovered fast. Perseverance, obviously. I do push-ups every night while reciting classical texts, training the body and mind together. As for the extra hour, I consult Einstein in my dreams whenever I get stuck on physics. Dead silence fell over the room. One of the cameraman's hands shook so badly he nearly dropped his equipment. Adrian's face went dark, and he rushed over to smooth things over with a strained laugh. Ha, Marcus is quite the joker. I quietly filmed the whole exchange on my phone and posted it online with a caption already prepared, breaking, Province's top scorer reveals his secret study method, visits Einstein in his dreams, studies 25 hours a day. Once the banquet started properly, Marcus was seated at the head table like visiting royalty while guests lined up to toast him. I picked at a plate of braised pork and refreshed my monitoring feed. The IP address tied to the real Ethan Cole's family in Meridian City had started aggressively tracing our city's education servers. A cold smile spread across my face. He'd found out. The real show was about to start. Chapter 5. Across the country, inside the Vance family estate in Meridian City, a sharp-eyed young man with a buzzcut stared murderously at his screen, where the words candidate Ethan Cole, total score, 0 sat glowing in the center. He slammed his fist onto the desk hard enough to send a porcelain teacup crashing to the floor. 0. I could have filled in the answer sheet blindfolded with my toes and scored higher than 0. The study door opened, and an elderly man in a formal suit stepped in, carrying the quiet authority of someone long used to being obeyed. What's all this shouting, Nathan? Grandfather, look. Nathan Vance pointed at the screen, trembling with fury. My score came back as 0. Either the system's broken, or someone tampered with it. The old man's expression darkened the instant he read the screen. A member of his family, scoring 0. Impossible. He raised his voice. Guard. Contact the Ministry of Education. I want to know who did this. You have 5 minutes. 3 minutes later, an officer sprinted back in, drenched in sweat, holding a file. Sir, we found it. Young Master Vance's actual score was 749, the top score in the province. But it was reassigned in the system to another candidate, a Marcus Dane. The tampering traces back to the Rivermont City Admissions Office. Rivermont. Nathan let out a short, humorless laugh. The audacity. They stole my score. A cold light passed through Walter Vance's eyes. Prepare the aircraft. You're going yourself, grandfather. I want to see, the old man said quietly, exactly how dark the sky over Rivermont has gotten. Back at the banquet, things were reaching their peak. Flushed with drink, Adrian dragged Marcus around, introducing him to every wealthy guest in the room. This boy has an unlimited future ahead of him, straight into a national research institute after Aldenbridge, mark my words. I checked my post from the corner. 30 minutes in, it had already crossed 3 million views, and the comments were merciless. Studying 25 hours a day, is this guy an alien? Meeting Einstein in his dreams, more like meeting the Sandman. Does this face really belong to a 749 scorer? I walked over with a cup of coconut water and smiled pleasantly at Marcus. Top scorer, the internet's calling you a once-in-a-century genius. Everyone's curious, how does someone who couldn't solve a basic equation suddenly score 749? Was it really all Director Reed's guidance behind the scenes? I leaned hard on the word guidance. Adrian's face changed instantly, most of his drunken haze burning off in an instant. Ethan, stop with the insinuations. Marcus's score is completely legitimate. Keep this up and I'll have security remove you. Marcus, emboldened, climbed onto his chair and announced to every camera in the room, I fear nothing. Real gold doesn't fear the flame. Anyone who doubts my score can test me right now. My IQ is 250. I stepped back half a pace, watching him pose triumphantly. Brother, 250 really does sound about right. 1 point higher would be too generous. Chapter 6. Marcus's declaration detonated across the internet the moment the live streams picked it up. Within the hour, 3 different trending tags had his name on them, each more merciless than the last. Adrian finally grasped how badly this had spiraled. He locked himself in the restroom and made frantic calls, sweat pouring down his face. Get the trending topics pulled, I don't care what it costs, the provincial office cannot see this. I leaned against the wall outside, listening to him panic, then quietly opened my phone and sent an anonymous email to the Provincial Disciplinary Commission's whistleblower inbox. Attached were 3 years of Adrian's suspicious bank transfers and documented evidence of him manipulating student records, all of it borrowed from the Education Bureau's own internal servers over the past few days. If he wanted to put out one fire, I'd hand him 3 more. He stepped out of the restroom, wiping his forehead, and nearly walked straight into me. Ethan. What are you doing here? He jumped like he'd been caught. Just using the restroom, Director Reed, I said innocently. You seem tense. Guilty conscience keeping you up. His face twisted with contempt. Don't think I don't know you're behind all this online noise. You're a nobody who scored 0. Tomorrow Marcus goes to the Education Bureau for a public verification test, and when he passes it, you'll be the one humiliated. My eyes lit up. A public test. Now that sounded entertaining. Back in the hall, Sophia was clutching Marcus's hand, worried. The comments online are brutal. Are you going to be okay for tomorrow? Marcus scoffed. What do a bunch of keyboard warriors know? With Director Reed there, it's just a formality. They'll probably hand me a few basic questions and call it done. I walked over and clapped him on the shoulder, all sincerity. The doubts online are getting loud, Marcus. If you really want to prove that letter wasn't stolen, tomorrow's test needs to be live streamed. Only by solving the hardest problems in front of the whole country can you silence the critics. His vanity did the rest. Live stream it, then. I scored 749, why would I be afraid of an audience? Tomorrow I'll show everyone what a real genius looks like. Sophia looked at him like he'd hung the moon. Marcus, you're incredible. Watching the two of them, I nearly laughed out loud. My phone buzzed with an encrypted message. The Vance family's private jet had landed at Rivermont International Airport 10 minutes ago, carrying Walter Vance and a full investigation team. I took a slow breath, stomach churning with anticipation. The countdown had begun. Chapter 7. At 10 the next morning, the main auditorium of the Rivermont Education Bureau filled for an event Adrian had been forced to organize to calm the backlash, a public verification test for the province's top scorer. Official notaries were present, more than a dozen outlets were live streaming, and within 10 minutes the feed had crossed 5 million viewers. Marcus sat center stage in a sharply tailored suit, radiating false confidence. Adrian sat at the judge's table clutching a folded slip of paper, an easy set of questions he'd prepared so Marcus could scribble something plausible and get through it. 1 second before the test began, the auditorium doors swung open. Several men in dark suits strode in and took control of the stage. "We received reports of a potential leak in the exam questions," the lead investigator announced coldly. "To ensure fairness, the Provincial Disciplinary Commission has replaced today's test papers." He dropped a sealed envelope onto the table. Adrian's face drained of color, and he sank into his chair. The new papers were unsealed and projected onto the screen. The live stream exploded. "That first question is from Aldenbridge's elite entrance track. Isn't that a National Physics Olympiad problem? Let's watch this 749 genius tear through it." Marcus stared at the symbols on the screen like they were written in another language. His pen hand began to shake. 10 minutes passed, and he hadn't even written his name. I grabbed a spare microphone from a distracted reporter and slid into full commentary mode. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is our top scorer's signature meditative method. He's currently communicating with Einstein across time and space. Let's not disturb the miracle in progress." The room burst into laughter, and the comment section went wild. "This guy clearly can't even read the question. Whoever's doing commentary is merciless." Marcus spun toward me, eyes bloodshot. "Shut up, Ethan. These questions are beyond the syllabus, no normal student could solve them." I clapped a hand over my mouth in mock shock. "But you scored 749. 1 point off perfect. Shouldn't this be as easy as 1 + 1 for you? Unless," I let the pause stretch, "your score wasn't real." Marcus snapped. He shot up and flipped the desk over with a crash. "I am the top scorer. I have the acceptance letter. Director Reed can vouch for me." Every eye in the room swung to Adrian, who was trembling at the judge's table. "This has nothing to do with me," he stammered. "I don't know anything." Just as the room threatened to spiral, Sophia bolted onto the stage, grabbed a microphone, and pointed straight at me, hysterical. Chapter 8. It was Ethan. This is all his doing. Her hair was a mess, tears streaking her face. Marcus is the one who actually scored 0. Ethan got jealous and hacked into the system last night to swap the records. He's the real owner of the 749, he just wanted to ruin Marcus. The auditorium went dead silent. Even the live stream comments froze for a moment. I nearly wanted to applaud the sheer nerve of it, a story that broke every law of logic in one breath. "So," I said, standing and brushing crumbs off my hands, "according to you, I hacked the system and swapped my own 749 for Marcus's 0. Exactly." Sophia clung to the story like a drowning woman to a raft. "You've been in love with me since we were kids. I chose Marcus instead, and you turned that into hatred. This is your revenge." Marcus caught on instantly and threw a hand over his face, playing devastated. "Ethan, I treated you like a brother. Give me back my score. I'd planned to let the circus play itself out, but they'd earned a proper finish." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a slightly crumpled envelope, holding it up toward the nearest camera. Inside was a gold-embossed acceptance letter, Aldenbridge University, Institute for Interdisciplinary Information Sciences, guaranteed admission, Ethan Cole, December. The room gasped. Sophia and Marcus went pale. 6 months ago, I said clearly, I was already guaranteed a place at Aldenbridge after taking gold at the National Computing Olympiad. On exam day I never even printed my ticket, I was home playing video games. So tell me, Ms. Reed, how exactly does someone who never sat the exam swap scores with your precious top scorer? Sophia's legs gave out and she collapsed to the floor. Marcus stared at the letter in disbelief, muttering, "Impossible. How could someone like you get guaranteed admission?" The live stream comments exploded. "Guaranteed admission, this guy's an actual prodigy. So whose score did Marcus steal? This gets scarier by the second." Adrian, completely unraveled, stumbled onto the stage and struck Marcus across the face. "You've ruined my entire life, you useless fraud." That was when the auditorium's heavy double doors exploded off their hinges with a deafening crash. Chapter 9. Dust filled the air. A squad of armed security in black tactical gear filed in and locked down every exit. Then a young man in a dark jacket strode through, a baseball bat resting on his shoulder, radiating the kind of controlled violence that made the whole room go still. Behind him came disciplinary officials and a military officer with stars on his shoulder. It was Nathan Vance, the real 749. His cold eyes swept the room and landed on Marcus. "Which one of you is Marcus Dane?" Marcus's bladder gave out on the spot. I am." Without another word, Nathan swung the bat into the desk in front of him. It exploded into splinters. Marcus screamed and dropped to the floor, clutching his face. "You think trash like you deserves my 749. Nathan stepped on his chest, eyes burning. "My grandfather locked me in a training compound to finish 10,000 practice exams for that score. I didn't touch my own car for months. And you just sat at home waiting for it to fall in your lap." He kept kicking. 25 hours a day. Meeting Einstein in your dreams. "I'll send you to meet someone else entirely." "Stop. I don't want the score. I don't want Aldenbridge anymore." Marcus curled into a ball, sobbing. Nathan yanked the acceptance letter from Marcus's jacket and tore it apart in front of every camera in the room. Adrian dropped to his knees, forehead pressed to the floor. "Young master, please, it was a misunderstanding. I'll fix everything." One of the disciplinary officials stepped forward and flashed his credentials. "Adrian Reed, you're under investigation for abuse of power, bribery, and manipulation of exam records. Take him away." 2 officers dragged him off. Sophia crawled toward me, wrapping both arms around my leg, sobbing. "Ethan, please. We grew up together. Beg them for mercy for me. You still care about me, don't you?" I pulled my leg free and looked down at her, unmoved. "When you stole someone else's score, Sophia, did you ever stop to ask whose family you were stealing from?" I straightened up. "Close your eyes. It's about to get loud." Chapter 10. The moment they dragged him away, Adrian seemed to find one last, brutal moment of clarity. He twisted around and screamed at Sophia. "You worthless leech. I spent my whole life taking bribes, and you burned it all down. I won't forgive you, even in death." Those words broke whatever was left of her. Her eyes rolled back and she collapsed limp onto the floor. Marcus, already beaten nearly unrecognizable, curled on the ground muttering, "I'm not the top scorer. I'm nothing. Please stop." Nathan wiped the dirt from his shoe on Marcus's jacket and finally turned to me. "So you're the other Ethan Cole. Same name, huh?" I nodded and lifted my letter slightly. "Nice to meet you. Incoming freshman, Vanguard program." His eyes lit up, most of the aggression draining out of him instantly. "No way, Vanguard. That's insane." He clapped a hand on my shoulder hard enough to bruise. "I hate coding more than anything on earth. Let me copy your assignments once we're both there." "You can copy them," I said, wincing. "It'll cost you a duck dinner." "Deal." He laughed and pulled out his phone. "Add me, thanks for helping blow this whole thing wide open. Dinner's on me tonight, anywhere you want." Reporters lost their minds around us, cameras flashing. One was the real top scorer, backed by a powerful family. The other was the quiet genius who'd been guaranteed admission all along. 2 strangers with the same name, laughing in the middle of a wrecked auditorium, while the 2 people who'd tried to build their futures on stolen ground lay broken at their feet. That afternoon, the provincial education department issued its ruling. Marcus's results were permanently revoked, and he was entered into the National Dishonesty Registry, banned for life from every national examination. Adrian was handed over to judicial authorities, and as investigators dug further, they uncovered millions in bribes, enough to guarantee him a long stretch behind bars. Sophia, suspected of helping forge official documents, was taken in for questioning. Even if she avoided prison, her reputation in Rivermont was finished. Not even a community college would touch her now. That evening, I dragged my suitcase out of the neighborhood, headed for the airport and the Vanguard program's summer training session. At the gate, I passed Sophia's mother pulling her own suitcase, head down, moving like she was trying not to be seen. Their house had already been seized by the court, they had nowhere left to live. When she noticed me, hatred flickered across her face for a second before fear swallowed it whole. She lowered her head and hurried past without a word. I watched her go. There wasn't the faintest ripple in my chest. When an avalanche starts, no snowflake gets to claim innocence. The moment you choose to do harm, you'd better be ready for what comes down the mountain after you. Chapter 11. By September, the air on the Aldenbridge campus had turned crisp with autumn. Golden leaves scattered across the paths as I dragged my suitcase toward the dormitory. I'd barely reached the building when a scream erupted from a second-floor window. "Ethan! Get up here and save me, their jungler is wrecking me." I sighed, handed my bag to the dorm attendant, and took the stairs 3 at a time before kicking open the door to room 204. Nathan sat hunched over his keyboard in oversized shorts, headphones askew, hammering furiously at the controls. Yeah, I'm here. Stop screaming." I pulled up a chair, logged in, and took the middle lane. Just don't feed them kills. Half an hour later the enemy base fell. Nathan ripped off his headset and tossed me an ice-cold can. "There it is. Had to be you, man." I cracked it open and took a sip. "So everything back in Rivermont finally settled?" "Yep. Adrian got 15 years. Nathan smirked. "Marcus apparently never recovered from the lifetime ban, walks around telling strangers he's a top scorer with a 250 IQ. And Sophia went south to work a factory line. Got fired a few weeks back for stealing copper wire." I let out a quiet laugh. "Karma, then." They waved a stolen acceptance letter in my face and acted like royalty. Bet they never imagined it would end like this. Enough about those two. Nathan clapped my shoulder. "There's a welcome party tonight. Heard there are some cute upperclassmen. You in?" I glanced at the email glowing on my screen. My advisor wanted the foundational logic for an AI model finished by morning. "You go ahead. If I don't get this done, I'll be the one on the wall of shame tomorrow. TSK. The genius life." He waved lazily and headed for the door. "Suit yourself. I'm off." I watched him go, put my headphones back on, and rested my fingers on the keyboard. Outside the window, the sunset burned crimson over the campus, and somewhere a bell tolled softly across the quiet grounds. My university life had only just begun. No more ridiculous games, no more petty schemes, just code, focus, and a future that finally belonged to me. As for the ones who'd tried to climb by stepping on someone else, they'd learn soon enough that the higher you build on stolen ground, the further you have to fall.